This is a big one, guys. All right, let's lock in. Stepping into your feminine is one of the most powerful ways to step out of suppression, because presence and performance can't live in the same breath. Because here's the thing. When you're rooted in your feminine, you're not performing. You're not shrinking. You're not bending yourself for approval. You're simply present. You're breathing. You're feeling and being. And that's where your aliveness comes back. So in this conversation, I want to show you why claiming your feminine matters, not just for your own body and health, but as a way of undoing the conditioning that we have all absorbed. We'll talk about how the patriarchy shaped what we think femininity should be, how inner misogyny keeps us policing ourselves, and how reclaiming your real feminine energy is one of the strongest exits from people-pleasing. Before I go any further, though, let me be clear. When I use the word patriarchy here, I'm not talking about men as individuals. I'm talking about a system, a structure that was built in many cultures, not just in the West, where power, property, and decision-making were centered around men. And it's important to name this too. The patriarchy hasn't only excluded women. It's also excluded people of color, children, queer communities, anyone who didn't fit the mold of who that system was built to serve. But for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to use the word patriarchy as shorthand for the social conditioning that most of us grew up inside. The one that told women to be small, agreeable, selfless. That's the lens I'm focusing on today, but I do want you to know that I see the bigger picture. Okay, patriarchy isn't about blaming men. It's about naming a system that centered male power and by default taught women to shrink. The feminine isn't a gender role, it's an energy that we all carry, men and women both. It's the energy of being, of receiving, creating, flowing, expressing. And here's why it matters. When you're in your feminine, you're in presence, you're in your body, you're in your breath, your emotions, your intuition. It's the opposite of pleasing, which is performance. Pleasing says, I'll do whatever I have to, I'll shut down whatever I have to so that you'll stay. But the feminine says, I am here, I am breathing, I am feeling, I am already enough, and that is a completely different operating system. The feminine doesn't earn love by disappearing, she embodies love by being fully present. But here's the thing, that's not what most of us were taught. From the time that we were girls, we were praised for being sweet, quiet, polite. We learned that feminine meant easy to handle. That's not feminine. That's conditioning. And it gets reinforced everywhere, in families, in schools, in workplaces, in relationships. The world has been built around masculine values, doing, striving, producing. So when women show up in their feminine, feeling, flowing, expressing, it's called too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too dramatic. So we internalize that. We take the message in, and it becomes inner misogyny. That voice that says, don't cry, don't feel, don't take up space. That is not your truth. That's patriarchy talking through your nervous system. Inner misogyny sounds like your own voice saying, don't be too much, don't feel, don't take up space. But it isn't you. It's patriarchy talking through your body. And just to name this, men struggle with people pleasing too. But their suppression usually comes from the opposite direction. They're told not to cry, not to need, not to lean. Vulnerability gets shamed out of them. Where women are trained to suppress anger and boundaries, men are trained to suppress tenderness and emotional honesty. Both are performances. Both are losses of the true self. But because my focus is women's health, I'm going to stay with how this conditioning shapes our bodies and our feminine energy. Here's the cost of confusing suppression with femininity. You end up cutting off your own vitality. You hold back tears, anger, joy, all of it. You breathe shallow, you stay quiet, you walk around looking calm on the outside, but inside you're carrying stress, resentment, even illness. Because the body can't tell the difference between suppressing anger and suppressing life force. So over time, it breaks you down, okay? Your body doesn't know the difference between suppressing your anger and suppressing your life force. So either way, it shuts you down. Now let's flip it. What would a matriarchal system look like? Not women dominating men, but a structure built to serve women's rhythms and values. It would center care, connection, community. It would value cyclical time, like ebb and flow, as much as linear achievement. That's why reclaiming feminine energy matters so much. It's not just personal, it's cultural repair. Every time you step into your feminine, you're rebalancing a system that has been out of balance for centuries. Okay, let me repeat that. Matriarchy isn't women dominating men. It's a system that values care, flow, and connection. And every time you reclaim your feminine, you tip the balance back. And here's the thing. None of us chose this. We were born into it. Whatever timeline you arrived in, you inherited the rules of that system. Parents pass them on, teachers reinforce them, communities reward them. We don't even question it at first. We just absorb it, like this is how the world works. We're living in a different time now. Information moves so fast. Voices that were silenced are now amplified. And that gives us the chance to question the story, to say, just because it was passed down to me doesn't mean it's mine to keep. You didn't choose suppression. You inherited it. But now you get to decide if it ends with you. So how do you step out of people pleasing? By stepping back into your feminine. Not the trimmed down version patriarchy rewarded, but your full feminine, your breath, your intuition, your emotions, your truth. Every time you let yourself feel, move, or express, you are undoing generations of conditioning. And the more that you practice, the stronger it gets, because presence compounds. Each time you drop performance for presence, you're unweaving the system inside of you, and you're reminding your body, I'm allowed to be here fully. Again, every time you choose presence over performance, you are not just healing yourself, you are unweaving a system that has lived in your body for generations. And honestly, this work isn't easy. You're not just untangling your habits, you're literally untangling history. But every deeper breath, every fuller expression, every moment you stop pleasing and start being, that's you reclaiming something that was stolen. And it doesn't just heal you, it ripples. It shifts how you show up in relationships, how you raise children, how you connect to your work. Stepping into your feminine, it isn't indulgence, it's reclamation, it's balance, and it's freedom. And every time you touch it, even in a breath, it compounds. And that's how you rebuild yourself. That is how you start to rebalance yourself and ultimately the world.